Let's do it. Hey guys, how are you? Thank you for joining us here this awesome streaming session that Steve and I are doing. I'm Dan Denley, founder of GuitarZoom, and this is my sidekick, Steve Stine, who needs no introduction, especially if you're watching this on YouTube or wherever you're tuning into us, whatever channel you happen to be on, how you're watching this, whether it's, I don't know, whatever, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever the possibilities are out there. Thank you for being here. We are doing, this is part 3 of a music theory workshop. And this is hopefully something that you guys are getting a lot of benefit out of. The first 2 went really, really well. They will be on YouTube for you. You can go there and check it out. We'll create a playlist for you. You can go through everything step by step. If you want to learn music theory fundamentals, then keep watching. If you want to learn it even faster, go to guitarzoom.com and check out Steve's Music Theory Masterclass, which takes all this stuff from step 1 all the way through. And that's available for you there on the old guitarzoom.com. Steve, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much,
buddy. I'm really excited about this. Guys, if you have questions, please put them in your comments. We'll try to read those and answer them as we go here. And also in a future session, please subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and turn on notifications so you can get the notice of the next time we're going to be streaming the next part of this. Going to cover a lot of stuff. I just want to warn you that if you are just starting out, like you're just trying to figure out where to put your fingers on the guitar, you're a total newbie, don't worry. This is not going to be applicable to you. Just go. You're welcome to stay, but don't feel overwhelmed. Also, if you're not a newbie and you've been playing a while and you still feel overwhelmed, also don't worry, because it takes a while to get your head wrapped around all this. Can you hear me okay, Steve?
Yeah, you're fading in and out.
Oh, am I?
Yeah.
Hang on a second. Had my heater on back here because it was cold. Maybe
Oh, sure.
Is that better or not?
Just speak a little bit louder if you can.
Well, let me turn up my gain, sir. You want loud?
Yeah.
I'll give you loud. That's 2. How does that sound? Can you hear me better?
Yeah,
better?
That's good.
Okay. Okay. And so, look, guys, don't get overwhelmed with this. It's something that has taken me and Steve years and years and years to learn and to absorb and to be able to apply. Just stay the course. Don't get discouraged. Hang in there and stay with us for the workshop. And if you want the masterclass, that thing is available for you there at GuitarZoom. Okay. Thank you. All right, Steve, take it away.
Okay. So again, if you haven't seen the first couple of videos that Dan and I have done, I would strongly recommend that you go back and watch those. You don't have to go back and watch them right now, but they're going to help if there's any, I find a lot that people are just missing little components. Like they might have the bigger picture. There's just something that's missing. So in the first video we talked about, or the first lesson we talked about chromatic scale and all the notes in music and that, and then we morphed that in the second video into the major scale and understanding how the major scale is constructed and how the major scale is movable from the key of C to the key of G, and it still sounds like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do wherever you go. Well, now what we're going to do, this is from the last video, we're going to take this key of C, and again, we could use any key, but we're just going to use key of C, again, because it has no sharps and flats, so it makes it a little easier. And what we're going to do is we're going to take each one of these 7 different notes, and we're going to create 7 different chords from each one of those notes. And then we're going to take those chords and we're going to apply them to your guitar. And then once we learn how to do that, you can actually do this in any key you want as well. So it's not just the key of C. You're going to learn the theory behind it and actually put it on your guitar and play it wherever you want.
Very cool.
Yeah.
This is going to be exciting. So guys, chords and scales are like this, interlinked, can't be separated, can't really fully understand one without the other.
That's right.
They are totally related, and I think a lot of guitar players think of them as separate things, but chords come directly from scales. They're just notes plucked out of the scale. So
that's right. And the thing to understand, as we've been talking about, is music theory is fundamentally based off what we call the major scale, the diatonic scale. And so even though you might play music that's more based off minor, or you do blues a lot and you play a lot of minor pentatonic or something like that, the construction and the logic behind everything that you're doing is still based off that major scale that we talked about yesterday. So as we construct these chords, they're going to be constructed off of these 7 different notes. Okay, again, any key, you could use the key of G, you could use the key of A, you could use the key of D, and it's all going to work the same way. I'm going to give you the formula, and then you can, and I'm going to show you how to do it on the guitar, and then you can move it wherever you want. So the thing we have to understand is we've been talking about how this scale, this major scale, was built on a series of half steps and whole steps, which we refer to as the distance between notes, or intervals. Okay? The distance between 2 notes is called an interval. So we learned, for instance, C to D was a whole step, and D to E was a whole step, but E to F was only a half step. Okay? And again, if you're confused about any of those terms, I would highly recommend that you go back and watch the early videos that Dan and I did, because we talk about all that stuff. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start off by understanding that if we are in the key of C, the first note, which is C, we refer to as the root. Okay? The first note of the key of G, the G is the root of the scale, or the key. Okay? If you're in the key of A is the root, and then we're going to have other notes. Okay? So yeah, it is the 1. No doubt about it. It's absolutely the 1, but we refer to it as the root. Okay, so the next note is a 2, obviously, and the next note's the 3rd note, and the 4th note, and the 5th note, and the 6th note, and the 7th note. And I think, yeah, tomorrow we're going to be talking about intervals. So you're going to learn all about intervals. Now today I'm going to touch on it a little bit and get you prepared for it, but tomorrow we're going to open the door on that whole thing and talk all about it. So what we want to do is understand that a chord, what is a chord? Well, a chord is a bunch of notes played at the same time. If you go to the piano and you do this, you're playing different notes. If you go to the piano and you do this, you're playing a horrible sounding chord, but you're playing a chord. Okay? All those notes are ringing out at the same time. Now, when we first start learning about chords in a key, the key of C, for instance, we want to build a C chord of some kind, and a D chord of some kind, and an E chord of some kind, and so on. So we start building these chords. Hopefully you can see that on the... Actually, I'm going to write it a little bit down here so you can see it. Okay? This is the word we're using, if I could spell it right. Triad. Okay? Triad. Mm-hmm. So, tri meaning 3. The chords that we are going to build today are called triads. They're based off 3 different notes. Okay? So, we're going to take these notes right here, the C, or excuse me, the C, the D, the E, the F, G. We're going to build chords on all of those. So, let me get this out of the way. So, in order to build triads, what we're going to do is we're going to select certain notes out of these 7 notes to build each triad. And what we're going to do is we're going to use what we refer to as the root, the 3rd note, and the 5th note. Okay? So right here, just over on the side here, I'm going to write root, 3rd, and 5th. So for instance,
you should memorize that, guys.
Yep.
Root, 3rd, 5th.
That's right. So if I wanted to build a C chord, like you played a C chord on the guitar probably, right? The C chord is built off the note C, obviously, and it seems obvious, and oftentimes we think we're not supposed to say that. We have to say that. So if we're talking about a C chord, one of the notes of that C chord emphatically is the C. The next note is going to be the 3rd. Now, what is a 3rd? Well, if we go 1, 2, 3, if we go 3 notes over, we get E. And the 5th, we'd have to go from that same note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So notice how I'm building down this way. I want you to see it this direction. So if I was playing the C chord on the guitar, this note right here, this 5th string right here, this note is C. This note right here of the C chord is E. And this 3rd string, which is open when I strum this, is G. When I play a C chord, I'm playing the notes C, E, G. And then on the guitar itself, this note's actually C all over again, and this note's E all over again. So oftentimes when we play guitar chords, we're playing multiple octaves. So we're playing C, E, G, and then we're playing another C and another E, right? And oftentimes when we play chords, we're just doubling those notes over and over and over. We're playing those same notes. Okay, a G chord right here, this is a typical G. I've got G, B, D, G, I'll play it that way, B, and D. Okay? G, sorry, B, and then I got G on the bottom. I'm sorry. So the point I wanted to show you with this is that I'm actually playing 3 Gs in this. There's 3 octaves of Gs in this one chord. So we get used to, as guitar players, playing all these different strings, which seems like we have a lot more notes, but we really don't. We're just playing those same notes over and over and over. Okay?
So, yeah. So the triad, guys, is only going to have 3 distinct notes. Like a tricycle has 3 wheels. A triangle has 3 sides. A triad is going to have 3 notes. And what Steve is saying is that those notes may repeat at different octaves. So this means it's the same note played at a different place. But the only notes that you're actually playing, if we break it down like to the lowest common denominator, it's C, E, and G for that C triad.
That's right. Now,
that C chord.
Chords can have more than 3 notes. But if we don't learn how to do it with 3 notes, we can't learn to add 4 and 5 and 6 notes. So we have this is the basics of where we need to start, which again is what we're talking about is music theory fundamentals. So we're gonna learn all about each one of these, but I just want you to see how this works. So a C chord is comprised of the notes C, E, and G. You just have to bear with me a little bit here. If we look to the next one, if we go to the note D in the key of C, if we go to the note D and we want to build a triad from the D now, for the D chord, is the root, right? If I want to build a D chord in the key of C, the root of the D chord would be D. Then we go over 3, 1, 2, 3, and we get an F. Then we move over 5 from the D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we get an A. Now, when I was younger and I was learning this stuff, in my mind, I always thought about it as it's every other note for the first 3 notes. So I would think in my head, I'd go A, B, C, D, E, A, C, E, or D, E, F, G, A, D, F, A. That's how I think about it in my head. C, D, E, F, G, C, E, G. And that's how I'd come up with every other note for the first 3 notes, which was the root, the third, and the fifth of each one. Okay? Nice. So again, whatever works for you for trying to figure these out, because I know even knowing the major scale sometimes is kind of difficult. So you just got to figure out what works for you. So if I keep doing this, and I'm going to kind of fast forward here so I don't take too much of your time, but if I do it from E, if you think about it, I got an E, obviously. Then I move over 3, 1, 2, 3. That's E to G. And if I go from there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's B. Or if you think about it, E, F, G, A, B. E, G, B.
Yep.
Okay? F would be F, A, and C. F, G, A, B, C. Root, third, fifth. Now watch this so you don't get confused. G would be G, B, and D. G, A, B, C, D. There's not 2 C's. This C is this C. So don't think that there's 2 C's. You wouldn't go G, A, B, C, C. You wouldn't do that. You're just going G, A, B, C, D. Because think about it, D, E, F, that would go on to infinity. As much as the instrument that you're playing would go, that would just go on forever. Right? So a piano, these would go on until the 88 keys has run out. Right? So that's just going to keep going. So G, A, B, C, D. G, B, D. A, C, E, B, D, F. Okay? Again, every other note for the first 3 notes, root, third, fifth, whatever it is that you need to think of, but you can see the pattern happening. C, E, G. We're skipping a note in between each one of those each time. Okay, so now we're not done, but we've built triads for each one of these chords. Now we have to understand something about this. This is good information, but it doesn't really tell us anything.
Right. And if you guys are just joining us, we're doing this blues. Oh, sorry, not blues. We've been on such a blues kick lately.
Yeah.
We're doing the music theory workshop. So look, don't worry if you're kind of lost. If you're just joining us, it's okay. Hop in, get your head wrapped around it as best you can. There's some other videos that we're going to put in this series. You can go back and watch on the YouTube channel. That's Steve Stine channel or the GuitarZoom channel on YouTube. You can check those out. We'll create a playlist for you. If you want to get the entire masterclass, that's available for you at guitarzoom.com. It's called Music Theory Masterclass. We go all of this super in depth. And if you have questions, please post them in the comments. And yeah, just want to get that out there, Steve, in case people were just joining us. Go ahead, buddy. And thank you for being here, all of you.
Okay, so if we look at this now, again, we've got to talk about distance or intervals. Now, we're not going to get super deep into this because tomorrow we're going to move into this, but we do have to understand that C to E is a distance or an interval. E to G is a distance or an interval. Now, we know that C to E, okay, we have the root, we have the third and the fifth, right? That's what we're calling these things. But let's actually look at the distance here. So C is what we call, okay, C to E right here is a third from each other. 1, 2, 3. E to G is a third from each other. 1, 2, 3, right? C to G is a fifth from each other. So if we think about all the possibilities of distances, C to E is a third. E to G is a third, right? And C to G is a fifth. Just so you kind of understand. All of these chords have that relationship. They have thirds and they have a fifth from D to, or C to G, or D to A, or E to G, or F to C, right? So just so you kind of understand that. Again, we're going to get deeper into this tomorrow, but we need to understand some basics right now. So let's go back to our old way of thinking of whole steps and half steps, right? That's how we built our key. So if we were to look at the distance from C to E, right here, okay? C to D is a whole step. D to E is a whole step. So C to E is 2 whole steps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this right here is 2 whole steps. Let me turn this on so you can see it better. So this is 2 whole steps. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
C to E is 2 whole steps. E to G, let's look at that. E to G. So E to F, is that a whole step? No, it's only a half step, remember? And this again is why our last lesson, it's really important to have listened to that. So E to F is a half step. F to G is a whole step. But E to G is only 1.5 steps because this is only a half step right here. So this distance, I'm going to erase this so we got a little more room here, is 1.5 steps. So C to E is a third. E to G is a third. But they're not the same thirds. They're not the same sizes. We refer to the one that's 2 whole steps, we refer to that as a major third. And the 1.5 steps we refer to as a minor third because they're 2 different sizes, so we have to give them 2 different names. So C to E is 2 whole steps. It's a major third. E to G is only 1.5 steps. So it's a minor third. So you have the choice of either thinking about this as 2 over 1.5 or thinking about it as, I'm going to write it like this, major third over minor third. You can think about it either way. Okay? Preferably as you keep going, you're going to want to think about it as a major third over a minor third. So here's the equation. If you wind up with a triad that is a major third on top of a minor third, you wind up with a major chord. That's the definition of a major chord, is it's a major third on top of a minor third. So this,
you guys can think about these as building blocks. We're laying the building blocks. Like, how do you build a brick house? Or you have to stack the bricks on top of each other. We're like, how do you build a major chord? You have to stack a major third and a minor third together. That will give you a major chord.
right. That's right. And the thing is you can have a lot of questions like, well, what if you did this or what? And those are all valid questions. But before you even ask those questions, you need to start with square number one. You need to start with brick number one, which is what we're doing right now.
Right.
Because asking, well, what happens if you do this? Those are all valid questions. But if we don't understand what we're doing here, you're just going to wind up lost again. Okay? Right. So this first chord is 2 over 1.5, or major third over minor third, which gives us a major chord. And we write a major chord with a large Roman numeral number 1. In music, we use Roman numerals because oftentimes when we're talking to other musicians, I might say to somebody, hey, can you play me a 1, 2, 3 chord progression? Which is telling them to play these 3 chords, 1, 2, and 3. But I didn't tell them what key it's in. Why? Well, it depends on who's singing. If it's my older brother who's 6'5" singing, he might be in a lower key. If it's a girl that's singing, or somebody my size who's got a higher pitch voice like I do, I might be singing in a higher key. That doesn't change the fact that the song is a 1, 2, 3 chord progression. It just depends on, are we in the key of C, are we in the key of A, or are we in the key of D? You see, that's the power of music theory. So now we know that in the key of C major, the first chord is C major, which seems logical because that makes sense, right? I mean, if we're in the key of C major, the first chord should be major, right? But now we know why. Okay, now we're going to keep going. Let's look at the second chord. And again,
and just so everybody understands, why is it major? Because it's a major third plus a minor third.
The major third on top of a minor third.
Yeah.
2 over 1.5. And that is the formula.
And if you change that, just to address the whole like, well, what ifs, if you change that formula, it's going to change the chord sound.
Right. Well, and we're going to figure that out right now.
Right. I'm just saying there's other formulas, but this is the one for the major one.
That's right. Absolutely. So now if we look at the second chord here, and again, it's getting, I should have written this out a little bit smaller, but if I look at D to F, and again, you'll see I have my little arrow there. If I look at D to F, it's a third. If I look at F to A, it's a third. Okay? But let's figure out the actual distance. D to F, D to F. It's a whole step and a half step. So it's 1.5. It's 1.5. F to A is whole step, whole step. It's 2. So now you're going to notice that it's flipped over. The 1.5, the little one's on top and the 2 is on the bottom. The minor third is on top and the major third is on the bottom. And when that happens, you wind up with a minor chord. A minor chord is minor third on top with major third on the bottom.
And that's why I used a lowercase Roman numeral 2, guys.
That's right. So big Roman numeral is major. Little Roman numeral is minor. Okay?
And that 1 represents the first chord built in that scale, and the 2 is the second chord of that scale. That's why it's called the 1 chord, the 2 chord.
C major, D minor.
Yeah.
Okay? Now here's the thing that you really need to understand. We're going to keep going, but the mathematics, and this is why people go, oh, you know, music is related to math. It's this sort of thing. Because the logic is ironclad. If our major scale from yesterday is built off the same series of half steps and whole steps. Remember I told you half steps between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8? If all of our major scales, the key of G and the key of D and the key of A and the key of A, if they all have the same schematic on top, they're all going to get the same schematic on the bottom. So if you're in the key of G major, your first chord is major. And your second chord is going to be minor. If you're in the key of D, the first chord is going to be major and the second chord is going to be minor. This whole thing crumbles if this isn't right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's imperative that this is right when you start building this out. So let's take a look at the next one. We have E, G, and B. E to G. Think to yourself, is that 2 whole steps or a major third? Or is it 1.5 steps, which is a minor third? Okay.
Think about that, guys. E to F is what? A half step or a whole step? That's a half step. So E to F is a half step. So you automatically know that's not going to be a major third because you have to have 2 whole steps to be a major third. So
That's
E to
right.
F is a half step, F to G is a whole step.
Right.
That's 1.5.
That's 1.5. And what we call 1.5 is a minor third. Well, we know it's on top now. Right here, minor third. And then G to B, G to B, G to A is a whole step, A to B is a whole step, so that's 2. So that's 1.5 over 2, or minor third over major third, which I have written right over here that you can kind of see. Okay, right here, minor third to major third. So it's the third chord, so I'm going to write it as a Roman numeral 3, and it's going to be a small Roman numeral 3, which stands for minor. So now I know that my key of C has C major, D minor, and E minor.
And guys, this is... So go ahead, buddy.
Oh, sorry.
Interrupt you.
If I was in the key of G, and I knew my notes for G, which if you were with me yesterday or with us yesterday, you know I did the key of G. But if we just think, the first note in G is G, so that's major. So it would get a G major chord. The second note is A, so it'd be A minor. The third note in the key of G, G, A, B, would be B minor. You see, this quality stays the same for every key. So you're now learning that in a major key, the first chord is always major. The second chord is always minor. The third chord is always minor. So there's a little bit of a shortcut there. I'm not saying that you shouldn't know these things, because of course you should, but there's a lot of times when you're trying to figure out songs by ear and you go, oh, I think it's in the key of G, but what are the other chords? Well, this is where this comes in handy, because you can think to yourself, well, what chords are in the key of G? Well, I know the 1 chord is major, the 2 chord is minor, and the 3 chord is minor. Because this mathematical equation is the same for every key, the outcome is going to be the same for every key.
And I just wanted to say that if you're sitting there thinking, or if you've ever heard, guys, someone say, what's, like play a 1-4-5 chord progression, that's what they're referring to right there on his whiteboard, is those Roman numerals. What they're saying is a 1-4-5 chord progression. We haven't gotten to 4 or 5 yet, but I'm just saying that's where we're going with this. So if you stick with us, the light bulb's going to come on for you. You're going to see when people use that terminology, 1, 4, and 5, exactly what that means. Or if they say play.
That's right. And the reason we're using that term is because the key is irrelevant. What key do you want it in? 1, 4, 5, and what? The key of G, the key of D, the key of A. It's fine. You throw it in whatever key you want. I mean, as guitar players, we're really only limited by our knowledge. But a vocalist is limited by their vocal range. They can only sing so high and so low, and there's got to be somewhere in between that highness and lowness that's comfortable for them. A guitar player, I'm limited by what I don't know, right? But that's something I can learn and I can get better at. A singer has a limitation. At least most singers do anyway. So our job is to find the key that singer is most comfortable in and make music in that key. So sure, the original version of Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison might have been in the key of G, and it is. But if somebody else is singing that song and you're in a band with that person and that person doesn't sing as low as Van Morrison, you can't force them to sing in the key of G if it's not comfortable for them. So you take that chord progression that the song is based off of, which Brown Eyed Girl is 1, 4, 5. And you move it into whatever key is comfortable for that. And we call that transposition, but let's finish up this first here. So if we look at the next chord, we have F, A, and C. So again, same principle. F to A. Is that 2 whole steps or a major third? Or is it 1.5 steps or a minor third? And the answer is, it's 2. I know my board's a mess, but you can follow me as best I can. I can always rewrite this, but...
it's 2 whole steps.
Yep, which is a major third. And then if we look at A to C, how far is that? Think A to B, B to C. How far is that? And your answer should be 1.5, because this is a whole step, but this is only a half step, and we know that. Right? If you've been with us since the beginning, you know my B to E trick, right? So we know that's only a half step. So this is only going to be 1.5. So 2 over 1.5 is the major third or a minor third. Whenever the big one's on top, it's major. Whenever the little one's on top, it's minor.
That's great. I love that.
That's what it is.
Major thirds on the top. It's a major chord. In fact, that major, yeah, never mind. I won't get into that.
Okay.
Guys, if you're just now starting, or if you're just joining us, guys, we're in the middle of the music theory workshop. Thank you so much for being here. Put your comments in and we'll try to answer your questions. Subscribe and make sure you turn on the notification to get the next notification of the next section or session of the old music theory workshop. And if you are digging on this and you want to really go deep into it and get the whole thing step by step, go to GuitarZoom and enroll in Steve's music theory masterclass. You can just click on the word masterclass at guitarzoom.com. It'll take you there.
Okay, so the next one we've got, again, G to B and B to D. I'm just making room. I just got that out of there so you could kind of see this better, but G to B. So again, after you get comfortable with this whole step, half step stuff that we've been telling you since the first video, this all gets easier because you don't have to count it all the time. You get used to going, oh, G to A is a whole step. A to B is a whole step. I know because it's not B to C and E to F. You get used to thinking about that, okay? So, so G to B is 2, or a major third. So again, you already have your answer, but we'll keep going here. B to D is only 1.5. Major third over minor third. So our 5 chord is major as well. And this was what was Dan just said. The 1, 4, 5, which we're going to get to later in another video, we're going to talk even more about this too. But the 1, 4, 5 is the single most used common chord progression in popular music. It just is. And now you're seeing why, because it's all 3 major chords. They're all major chords. Think about if you've ever played A, D, and E in a song, or G, C, and D in a song, or C, F, and G in a song, or D, G, and A in a song. Those are all 1, 4, 5 in the respective key. If you think about it, A, B, C, D, E, A, D, E, 1, 4, 5. Key of D, D, E, F, G, A, D, G, A, 1, 4, 5. Right? 1, 4, 5. It's the most common chord progression that we use. So there it is, sitting right there. They're the 3 major chords. Now, if we keep going, we go to the next chord, which is A here. Really wish I would have written this different, but we're just going to keep trudging through my mess.
Yeah, it's fine, man.
So A, C, and C and E. Okay? So A to C, you have to ask yourself, is it a major third or a minor third? And
and the answer is, how do they know?
Well, you got to count the distance. A to B, B to C. A to B is a whole step, B to C is a half step. And if you're asking yourself at all, I don't know what a whole step and a half step is, that's why you have to go back to one. Otherwise, this video would be 5 hours long because we'd be recapping everything else that we did. You know, they're all, and that's the whole point, is it's got to be built on each other, and you have to understand each sequence of events to move on to the next thing. So this one is a minor third. It's 1.5 steps. C to E, C to D, D to E. What is that? Is it a minor third or a major third? Your answer should be
major third.
Ding, ding, ding. Major third. C to D is a whole step. D to E is a whole step. Therefore, it is 2 whole steps or a major third. Okay?
So 6th chord is going to be...
gives us...
minor.
Chord. So our 6th chord is minor. It's kind of hard to write at that lower angle, but we're almost...
The cool thing about this, guys, is it doesn't change in a major key. Like once you get those chords on there, the 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, they are universal. You don't have to relearn this. You got it for one key, you got it for all 12 keys.
And sometimes your brain's going to go, it shouldn't be that easy. And I always tell people there's so many things about guitar playing that are so easy, they're hard. Because we want to make them more difficult. Yeah. As long as your equation is right here, your equation, and again, you have to double, just like mathematics, man. If you make a mistake, the whole thing's going to be wrong, right? But as long as your equation here, where the half steps and whole steps are in the right places, and you figure out your root and your third and your fifth, and you figure out these intervals between these notes, this is what you're going to get. Now, again, I'm just telling you, to be honest with you, you wouldn't even have to learn any of this, and you could just win with this. Okay? I'm not saying that it isn't important to know this. It is. But I'm saying the fact that you now know that the 1, the 4, and the 5 are major, and the 2 and the 3 and the 6 are the outcome, those are minor, that's huge. Because as you start looking at songs, just look at any song that you're learning right now within reason. Again, don't go to a Slayer tune or a Metallica tune. Go to a Bob Seger tune. Go to a Bob Dylan tune. Go to a, whatever, Hootie and the Blowfish tune. I don't know, just something. And you're going to see this stuff in action. Go to anything on the popular radio right now that my daughter listens to. It's all this. It's all this. I couldn't name you anything because I don't listen to it, but that's what it would be. So here's the wrench. Right here. We get to the last one. We get to the B. Okay? What's the distance from B to D? Is it a major third? Is it 2 whole steps? Or is it a minor third, only a step and a half? And again,
so B to C will be a half step. C to D is a whole step.
Right. So it's a step and a half.
Step and a half.
It's a minor third. D to F. What is that? D to F. D to E is a whole step. E to F is a half step. So this crazy chord
You blew up my formula, Steve.
Yeah. So this crazy chord here is both minor thirds. Okay? This chord is very strange. It's minor. We write it like small like that, but we put a little circle behind it at the very end. I don't think you're going to be able to see that in my screen. Nope. Okay? But it's right here. Okay? That chord is what we refer to as diminished. It's 2 stacked minor thirds. Now, to be completely honest with you, you're not going to see a diminished chord very often in popular music. And oftentimes, even when you do see it, it's not being used in this fashion. Like for me, I grew up listening to stuff like Yngwie Malmsteen, and oftentimes we'd be using diminished stuff for things that don't fit into this. We're using it for all kinds of different things. So again, I always tell people the beauty of rock and roll is that it all doesn't make sense. Theory makes sense. Rock and roll does not all make sense. Okay?
That's right.
There's rules within rules that don't make any sense at all. But my point is that 7th chord right there would be B diminished. That's what it would be. But for you to learn these first 6 chords, and here's the trick that I want you to walk away from, and then I'm going to grab my guitar. We're going to look at this, okay? Here's the shortcut for you to remember for the rest of your life. In a major scale, because remember, someday we need to learn about minor scales and things like that too, which are really related to this. They're not, when I went to high school, or when I went to college, I thought a minor scale was completely different than this. And I panicked. I almost dropped out of school because I was learning modes, and I'm like, it's like 144 scales. I'm never going to learn all this. I didn't understand that they're actually all just related to the major. If you learn this, you know all the rest of it. You just have to learn how it works. Okay? So, in a major scale, here's the shortcut. 1, 4, 5 is always major, and 2, 3, 6 is always minor.
And if you got that, that'll take you a long way.
That's right, because let me see if you can see it on here. If I wrote the key of G, which you might remember from last week, and don't worry about it if you don't, but G would be G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. If you remember that, we figured out why there was a sharp. So with this logic, even if I didn't know all of this, I'd know my chords are G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, and then F sharp diminished, which I don't really have to worry about. That's so right. If someone said to me, hey, this song's in the key of G, come up and jam Brown Eyed Girl, it's in the key of G, I already know what to expect. That doesn't mean it's always going to be there. Sometimes music throws you for a loop. But most of the time, I know what's happening. And Dan and I are going to do a lesson on common chord progressions to help you out with that too.
We will. That's coming up. Yeah. So I don't know. He said, come up here and jam the Brown Eyed Girl. It's in the key of G. Now, what he knows is there's 7 chords in the key of G. He knows the 1's always major, the 4's always major, the 5's always major, and then
G,
2.
C, D right there. That's what I think in my head. G, C, D, 1, 4, 5.
And the only other part he'd need to know, if he didn't already know that it's a 1, 4, 5 in the key of G, is able to say, hey, it's in the key of G, it's a 1, 4, 5.
Yeah. Or even if it had other chords. If it had a minor chord, then I know 2, 3, and 6. I got to throw an A minor or a B minor or an E minor in there.
Yep.
And as we keep going, again, we're not going to bury you today, but as we keep going, we're going to figure out that even some of those chords are used more common than others together.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's a logic to all of this. So
There is.
you have the answer, the outcome that you can apply to the key of D, or as long as you know the key. So we have taught you the chromatic scale, which is all the notes in music. We taught you how to build the major scale and how to build that major scale in any key. If you want to be in the key of G or the key of D or the key of C or the key of A or the key of F, you have that knowledge. You might need a piece of paper to write it down a few times, but you have the knowledge to figure it out. Now you have the knowledge to understand what notes are in each chord in that key, and ultimately what the chord qualities are, which is even more important, but it didn't come out of my mouth. But for
That's
the
right.
But for the regular player, it is, because
Absolutely.
people want to learn how to play by ear. You know, it's like you're learning a song and you go, "Oh, it sounds like it's the main chord is kind of A, but I don't know what else is in there." Well, now you do. Mm-hmm. At least you got a fighting chance. It might have something that's outside the box. Music doesn't always make sense, but man, you got a fighting chance to get the right answers.
I love it. This is great, man. I mean, just this one session right here, if I had known this when I was about 14 years old, it would have completely changed how, like, clarified for me for years of struggle and like, what the heck?
Right.
And playing chords, I had no idea they were related in the same key, not knowing which scale I could use for a solo, etc. So, guys, I hope that this is resonating with you. Listen, if you're overwhelmed, don't worry about that. It's okay. Just stick with us. So he's going to demonstrate this here on the guitar for you. You can always go back and watch these on YouTube. We will, once they're streamed, they will go on this channel permanently. We will even put them in a playlist for you. You can go back and watch them. If you want to get the full masterclass, it's called Music Theory Masterclass, and it's available at guitarzoom.com. And I can tell you guys, everybody who's enrolled in that masterclass has absolutely loved it. And some of the testimonials are like, this changed my life. So if that's what you're interested in, you can check that out. The old guitarzoom.com, just click on the masterclass button. Show us, sir, on your beautiful Martin.
Okay, so right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the key of G simply because it pushes me down further on the guitar, so it'll be easier for you to see versus playing in the key of C way up here. Mm-hmm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play these notes as a major scale. I'm going to play G, A, B. So notice how I'm putting those three notes on the 6th string. Mm-hmm. So I can see G, A, and B sitting right there on my 6th string, right? Okay, so let's keep going. G, A, B. C, D, E is on the 5th string. So my next three notes symmetrically look exactly the same, and those are sitting on my 5th string. So I have G, A, and B sitting right there, and then I have C, D, and E sitting right there on the next string. You see that? And then I'll round that off by playing F sharp, and then G, and then I'm done with this scale. Now oftentimes you might play it here, which is perfectly fine. I'm playing it in what we refer to as a spread fingering so you can visualize this stuff happening on your guitar. Because I'm going to take all these chords, I'm going to play them for you right now just like you can do. Okay? So G, A, B, C, D, E, and then F sharp, and then G. So we know that our chords would be G major, A, let me get my guitar out of the way, minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, and then F sharp diminished. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 4, 5 is always major, 2, 3, 6 is always minor, and 7 is always diminished. So when I go to my guitar, I can plug it in. I can say G major, A minor, G, A, B minor. Remember in the first lesson when we learned all our notes on the 6th string? Well, this is coming back to help us. G major, A minor, B minor. Now, of course, I need to know my bar chords, right? And then the next string I have C, D, E. So my third chord is, my fourth chord is major, C. My 5th chord is D major. And my 6th chord is minor. So C major, D minor, E minor, C major, A minor, B minor, D major, E major, E minor. Now, watch this though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 4, 5 are major. 2, 3, and 6 are minor.
Ooh, nice.
So if I was in the key of F, and I don't know the key of F, I haven't studied enough, right? But here's what I do. I go to F, F, G, A. I play that exact same symmetrical shape. And I plug in my chords. Major 1, minor 2, minor 3, major 4, major 5, minor 6. 1, 4, 5 are major. 2, 3, 6 are minor.
That's a great little exercise, guys, that you can practice right there.
Yeah, and it's
1, 4, 5, 2,
that's
3,
right.
6.
So I always want to show you shortcuts, but that doesn't mean the rest of it isn't important. Obviously, the more you understand about it, the easier it's going to be to retain all of this information. But this is why, again, as Dan was saying, if somebody said, hey, we're playing whatever, and it's a 1, 6, 4, 5 in the key of G. So then I think in my head, okay, so 1, 6, 4, 5, which is every doo-wop song ever written. Oh, where can my baby be, right? Whatever that is. So 1, 6, 4, 5. Okay, so we start playing that, and the singer goes, oh, no, that's way too low for me. Okay, that's fine. Let's move it up to A. 1, 6, 4, 5. Even if I'm not thinking about the names of the chords. And in saying that, I feel a little guilty because it's not like you shouldn't know those sorts of things, because you should. I'm just saying, in the real world, sometimes you got to know this stuff to get to the answer.
Going.
Yeah, you got to get to the right answer. So that's what I wanted to show you today.
Dude, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing
awesome.
chunk of info. So guys, look, I hope you enjoyed this. We're going to be doing some more of these. We're going to go in depth more. Hopefully you will subscribe if you enjoy it. Hit the old notifications button. Make sure you subscribe with notifications on so you can get notified when we stream these. We're going to do several more, all included in our music theory workshop that we're doing here for you. Whatever channel you happen to be watching this on, if it's Steve Stine channel on YouTube, GuitarZoom on YouTube, Facebook, we can stream there if you're part of the GuitarZoom community there. Wherever you happen to be watching this video, please like it, share it if you found it helpful. Make sure you get over there on the old YouTubes though and subscribe and hit the notify button so you can get notification of when we're going to be releasing the rest of these, because we got a lot more to come. I'm really, really excited about it. And guys, if you want to go deep into this, you want to get the full masterclass, it's available at guitarzoom.com. It's called Music Theory Masterclass. You can just go to the homepage and click on Masterclass. Get all the information there. Super, super affordable and unbelievably helpful. Everybody gets it, loves it. We used to have it as a 12-week masterclass the first time it was released, and then we condensed it, or not condensed it. We actually just took all 12 weeks, mashed it into one session. So as soon as you enroll in that, you get all 12 weeks. You can go exactly to wherever you want. But I would recommend that if you want to get the whole picture of how this thing works, start at the beginning and just work your way through it and stick with it. Don't lose heart. It's music theory is just one of those things that, man, once you get, it's like riding a bicycle. You just don't forget it. It is super helpful in so many ways. Steve, this has been awesome, man. I just cannot thank you enough, and I cannot thank all of you enough for being here and hanging out with us. Do you have any additional, do you have anything additional you want to say, Steve, or are we done, buddy?
No, I think we're good. Just like I said before, watch the other videos that we've done, and remember to take your time. As I said in the last lesson too, and I'm going to say in this one, don't expect that you're watching this and that you're just absorbing this information through osmosis. You know, you've got to sit, you've got to study this stuff, you've got to think about it. You might even have to crack out a pencil and a piece of paper and mark some things down, and don't feel like you're dumb because you're doing that. That's what we used to do when we were in school. It's just when we get out of school, all of a sudden it's like you know, sometimes we think it's wrong to get a piece of paper and pencil and work things out. This is essentially math for musicians. So it's okay to take out a pencil and start writing some things down and regurgitating that information over and over and over to make it make sense to you, and then apply it to your guitar. So that's the one thing I would say for sure.
Yeah, guys. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got a lot of benefit from it. Hope you'll join us for the next session. If you want to get the masterclass, it's available for you there at guitarzoom.com. Steve, as always, my friend, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, it's been awesome. Everybody take care, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. Bye. See ya.
Bye.